So day 1 of review, starting with chapter 7. Chapter 7 was all about similarities between two figures, okay? What's the difference between congruence and similarity?
Similarity is they're the same shape, but they aren't the same numbers.
Right. So congruent means they're exactly the same, but similarity means they're the same shape, but their size is different, okay? So chapter 7 was all about ratios and proportions. Okay, so first on number 1 through 4, we're going to start with proportions. They already have them set up for us. We just have to solve them. How do I solve proportions? What's it called? Cross multiply. Yep, so we're going to take 3 times 4n, which is 12n. And then equals 6 times 8, which is 48. Okay, after you cross multiply, now it's just an algebra problem. How do I get n by itself? Divide by 12 on both sides. So I get n equals 4. Okay, so similar on number 2. What am I going to do? Cross multiply. 6 times 9? 54. What's on the other side? Yep, a and 3, so 3a. Last step is divide by 3 on both sides.
That'll give you 18.
So you get a equals 18. Okay? When you get to 3 and 4, what do you have to be careful?
You gotta times both of them.
Right. We have a binomial here, which means there's 2 terms. So you have to treat them together. Okay? So by treating them together, you're going to have to end up distributing. Okay? But we're going to use the same thing, cross multiply. So we have 6 times that whole thing. So I'm going to rewrite that as 6 times x minus 5, just so I can visually see it. And then what's on the other side? 10 times 3 is 30. Yep. So when you get to this point, what are you going to do next?
6 times x and 6 times 5.
Yes, you could go through distributing. I'm going to teach you a little trick. Okay? You can get rid of the 6 by dividing by 6 on both sides. Then you don't have to go through the whole distributing part. So if I divide 6 on both sides, what's left on the left side? If these cancel.
X minus 5.
X minus 5 equals 30 divided by 6 is 5. And then what's the last step we have to do?
Add 5.
Add 5 on both sides.
And I'll give you the same thing.
So we get x equals 10. If you did go through the distributing process and all of that, you would still get the same answer.
Yep.
Okay? So when you have a binomial, you have to treat it as one thing. Okay? So looking at number 4, what's the first thing I need to do? So that I can remember. Mark it with parentheses. Okay? And then you're going to do the same thing, cross multiplying. So I have 8 times 7.
That's 56.
56 equals, and then I have 2 times that whole quantity.
N plus 5.
So I have 2 times n plus 5. What's the trick I showed you?
Divide by 2.
Yep. Divide by 2 on both sides. So I get 56 divided by 2 is 28. N plus 5. And then what's the last step I can do?
Subtract 5.
Yep. Subtract 5 on both sides.
23.
So you get n equals 23. So when the proportions are already set up for you, you're just going to cross multiply. Okay?
Yeah.
Now it's asking if the two figures are similar to each other. Okay, so we have to check the side ratios and the angle measures. Okay, so I always look at the angles first. Okay, it doesn't matter if you look at angles and sides, but you want to look at both. Looking at the angles first on number 5, are they all the same?
Yeah.
Yes, they all have the same symbols. Okay, now we need to check the sides. Do we remember how to check the sides? We have to create ratios.
Oh.
Okay, so what's a ratio I can create? Stay away from decimals. 20 and 15, good. So I'm going to put 20 over 15. Do I want to leave it as 20 over 15?
No, simplify.
Right, you want to simplify. What can I simplify these both by?
5.
5. What do I get if I simplify by 5? 4 over 3. Can I only do 1?
No, you gotta do.
I have to do at least 2.
32 and
Yep. 32 and 24. Why can I not do 24 over 32?
Because you did it the other way.
Right, you have to match what you did on the top to what you're going to do on the bottom. Okay, so what can I divide both of these by?
4.
8. Yep. You could have done 4, but you would have had to keep going.
Yeah.
Yep. 32 divided by 8 is 4. 24 divided by 8, 3. So
They are similar.
they match, so yes, they are similar.
That's how you do it.
Okay, so that's a good idea.
Yep. So the angles matched and our side ratios match, so therefore it's similar. Okay? So looking at number 6, remember we have to do both the angles and the side ratios. Okay, looking at the angles, what do you think?
14.
They're not, the angles don't match, okay? So the angles we know don't match, but we also need to check the sides. Okay, but if one of them doesn't work, is it similar? No, but we're going to go through the sides just for more practice, okay? What's a ratio I can create for the sides?
35 over 14.
Yep, 35 over 14. What can I reduce both of those by?
Seven.
7. Divide both those by 7, I get 5 over 2. Can I do 1?
No.
I have to do more than 1. What's another ratio I can create?
35 or 30 over 12.
Why can it not be 12 over 30?
Because
Because of the order you did it.
Yep, it has to match. What can I divide both those by? 6 to get
5 and 2.
5 and 2. Now, did those match?
Yes.
Yes, but did our angles match?
No.
No. So can these two be similar? No. Okay, so when you're thinking about similarity, you look at the angles and you look at the side ratios. Okay? 7 and 8 are a similar process, okay, but this time it wants us to look for the scale factor.
You gotta make them X so you can do the
Okay?
multiplication.
So, we already know they're similar, so what do we know if they're already similar?
You
The
can just write the
angles.
name.
The angles are the same, and what else are the same?
The sides.
The side ratios are the same. So, to find the scale factor, we just need to find a ratio. So, what's a ratio I can make?
15 over 20.
15 over 20. Do I have to do more than one?
Yeah.
I don't have to. Why don't I have to this
Oh,
time?
we already know they're similar.
Right, we already know they're similar, so we only have to find one of them.
And divide
Okay.
by 5. It's
Yep.
3 over 4.
Reduce both of these by 5 to get 3 over 4. And that is your scale factor. On the answer key, it writes it like this. Okay, that's the same thing as writing as a fraction. Okay. So, another thing I should have pointed out before we did that, it wants smaller to larger. Okay, so that's why we put the smaller one on the top and the larger one on the bottom. So with that in mind, on number 8, which one's the smaller figure?
Top.
The top one, the bigger one's the bottom. What's a ratio I can make? Yep. 6 and 12, what can I reduce that by?
6.
Divide by 6 to get
1 over 2.
1 over 2.
Okay, you done 5 and 10.
You could have also done 5 and 10. Yep. And remember, the answer key has it written in that form, but remember, it's the same thing. Okay? So on 9 and 10, we're trying to see if the two triangles are similar. Okay? Little tricky with triangles. We still want to look at angles and sides. Okay? On number 9, do they share any angles? Q, right? They share Q. How do we check the sides? How do we check the sides with rectangles? The ratios, right? So we're going to do the same thing. What's tricky is what goes together with triangles.
They're flipped, so it would be 28 and 98.
Yep, it's what they match up with in a line. Okay? So 28 and 98. What can I divide both of those by?
8, 6,
15.
14.
that got me for a second. I was like, what are you doing?
Divide by 14, we get 2 over 7.
We gotta
Okay.
do one more.
Yep, what's the other ratio?
63 over, or 18 over 6.
Yep, I got to do 18 over 63. What can I divide both those by?
18.
12. 9.
9. Divide both by 9, we get 2 over 7. What does that mean?
They're similar.
They're similar. Don't worry about writing the congruent statement.
Oh, you have to just put yes.
Yep, yes or no. Don't worry about the congruent statement. Okay? On number 10, do we know anything about the sides?
No.
No. So we have to base it off of the angles. I'm going to start with angle 78. Does it match on the other triangle?
Yes.
Yes. What about angle 39?
Yeah.
Those match, but we don't know the third one.
We gotta do math. Right?
Do we have to?
No.
No.
We need to.
Right, if two of them are the same, would that mean the third is the same?
Yeah.
Yes. So are these similar?
Yes.
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 Okay, so you need at least two angles that are the same.